It's a Wednesday edition of PFT OT, and I am flying solo today because Wednesday was a big cat day. No Simms here to bounce things off of. What I want to do is delve into some of the storylines that came up during the program today, things that I think require a little more discussion, a little more contemplation, a little more analysis. And I'm going to begin with the subject on which Big Cat has officially tapped out, the Antonio Brown helmet saga. Now, it's not over yet, so we have to keep talking about it, and it could be over by early next week. In theory, it could be over on Friday. A grievance hearing is tentatively set for Friday in the grievance 2.0 that was filed by Antonio Brown, focusing on specifically the effort of the NFL to slam the door on his ability to wear his preferred helmet model, the Shut Air Advantage, without giving him a grace period to transition out of it. Because that's ultimately what happened here. Antonio Brown dealing with a moving target from the NFL. Okay, I can't wear a helmet that's more than 10 years old. Well, I'll just find one that's less than 10 years old of the same model. And he starts the search to find one, and he finds one, and everything looks like it's going to work out until the NFL says, oh, by the way, we have to test that. Oh, and by the way, it failed, so you can't wear it. So by adding on kind of an on-the-fly basis the Shut Air Advantage to the list of banned helmets, the argument is, I should have a one-year grace period, just like Tom Brady did. So we should have an answer to this by Monday at the latest. And then the question becomes if he loses. And even though I think he has a good argument, I still think he's going to lose. What does he do next? Does he grab one of these other helmets? He described the one that he wore last Thursday night prior to the Raiders-Cardinals preseason game as ugly as bleep. So it really is, at its core, a vanity play by Antonio Brown, and that's fine. But don't make it about safety. Don't make it about anything but the guy doesn't like how he looks in a different helmet. And Tom Brady, at some level, may have been influenced by the same damn thing. The bottom line is an answer on this grievance is coming. Whether it's the final chapter of this unexpectedly convoluted book remains to be seen. Also with the Raiders, an intriguing element of Hard Knocks, because Simms and I speculated on this last week, and actually it may have been Big Cat on Friday. I'm getting my week screwed up. But the day after the Raiders-Cardinals preseason game, when Kyler Murray looked like anything but the generational talent that he had been hyped as by his GM, Steve Keim, and the way he looked the prior Thursday against the Chargers, I thought maybe the Raiders were deliberately trying to hold him back, to keep him from making them look bad, to keep John Gruden from wishing he had had a chance to get Kyler Murray with the 4th overall pick, from keeping Kyler Murray from obviously being the best quarterback in the building in comparison to Derek Carr, who it struck me last night when John Gruden was showing his players film of Kyler Murray and just raving about what he can do, the 4.3 speed, the 60-yard flick of a wrist. I'm thinking, this guy's a lot better than Derek Carr. And you have to wonder whether the people in the meeting room were thinking, this guy's a lot better than Derek Carr. And I just can't help but wonder whether or not the Raiders were intent on making Kyler Murray not look as good as he would have looked if they didn't specifically game plan to stop him. And it was after that game when Kyler Murray meets Antonio Brown at midfield. Kyler Murray says, essentially, why'd they have to bring the house all night? So, yeah, it kept him from having the kind of game that maybe he would have had if there had been game planning offensively the way that apparently there was game planning defensively. So I thought that was an interesting little wrinkle. John Gruden did not want his Raiders, and specifically his quarterback, Derek Carr, to be upstaged by Kyler Murray, even in a preseason game. We spent some time today talking about the Browns versus Giants in the media, an unexpected media rivalry sparked by the Baker Mayfield comments to GQ, regardless of whether they were taken out of context, regardless of whether or not Baker Mayfield didn't intend the words to be used, they were used. And here's what was amazing about it, because the same day those comments from Baker Mayfield emerged in GQ, there were quotes from Odell Beckham Jr. to Sports Illustrated about how he believes the Giants deliberately targeted Cleveland as a place where they would send Odell Beckham Jr. to die. And look, Beckham has said he needs to stop talking about the Giants. He hasn't stopped talking about the Giants. What he said was pretty inflammatory. The fact that it barely registered, it just shows what kind of cover Baker Mayfield provides for Odell Beckham Jr. And this gets back to something we were discussing over the past few weeks, that Beckham was maybe demonstrative and exuberant and a little over the top at times in New York because his quarterback isn't. And his quarterback doesn't supply that vocal, that animated leadership that plenty of other quarterbacks do. In Cleveland, Mayfield is that guy. And in Cleveland, Mayfield is the guy who sucks the oxygen out of the room, even with OBJ there. Mayfield's controversial remark gets far more play than Beckham's. And ultimately, that may be good for Odell Beckham. Ultimately, what it means is his comments are going to be potentially less noticed. His antics, if there are any, will be less noticeable. And Baker Mayfield is going to be the guy that everyone is paying attention to. And that may allow Odell Beckham Jr. to just go about his business of being the best football player he can be. Jerry Jones' business is running a football operation, and he's trying the best he can to hold it all together while paying guys enough money that they'll be satisfied, but without breaking the bank and blowing the salary cap. And yesterday, as he reacted to the criticism of his Zeke Who joke from Friday night, because remember, Rocky Arsenault, the agent for Ezekiel Elliott, complained to ESPN that it was a disrespectful joke. Jerry Jones' comments, and we played them during the show, he seems like he's getting a little pissed off at Ezekiel Elliott pretending to be upset when he said, "I've earned the right." Oh, and I have earned the right to have a joke with Ezekiel Elliott. Jerry Jones has gone to bat for this guy over and over and over again. The stuff we know about and maybe stuff we don't know about. But Jerry Jones has been the primary benefactor from a goodwill standpoint, from a defend my guy standpoint. So if he wants a joke with Zeke, he thinks he should be allowed to joke with Zeke, because below the jokes, there's some serious stuff that Jerry Jones has handled on Zeke's behalf over the last couple of years. And I think Jerry Jones wanted Ezekiel Elliott and specifically Rocky Arsenault to be well aware of what Jerry Jones has done for Ezekiel Elliott. And I think there is a certain amount of anger that is creeping into Jerry Jones' position. It's not just posturing at this point, although they know they need Ezekiel Elliott. I think that Jerry Jones is at least willing to entertain the possibility of going forward into the 2019 season without him, because of that frustration that naturally flows from this idea that I've done plenty for this guy, I've gone above and beyond, and this is the gratitude that I get. I don't like it. And you know, at a certain point, those personal feelings can overcome that desire to win football games and pursue a Super Bowl, something that the Cowboys haven't had in 24 years and counting. Now, their defense, which is underrated, includes linebacker Jalen Smith, a guy who tore an ACL in the Fiesta Bowl in early 2016, first day of January in that Notre Dame-Ohio State game. Lost out on $15 million or so when he plunged into round two, didn't play at all as a rookie. He was in a position where he was under contract for one more year, plus not eligible for the franchise tag or unrestricted free agency. He was eligible for restricted free agency. And that means that he wasn't going to make much money over the next 2 years. He traded the next 2 years of expected revenue in for a long-term deal with $19 million fully guaranteed at signing, $35 million total guarantee with injury guarantee on top of it. A great deal for a guy who plays a very violent position, a guy with a bad injury history, a guy who is one play away at any given moment from having another career possibly ending, at a minimum career derailing type of an injury. And he did the smart thing. He took the money. And, you know, you can say, well, he's a better player than that. He should have held out for more. Well, you know what? Sometimes you wait for more and you do suffer that injury and you never get the money. And it's very easy to have that conversation in a vacuum. It's another thing to say when that money's on the table, sorry, I want more, so I'm not going to take it. Jalen Smith took the payday that he never got when he's coming out in the draft, and now he can build on his career from there. And he did commit. This is an important detail to remember because it's been called a 5-year extension. It's not a 5-year extension. It's a 6-year extension of his current contract. It has him signed and committed to the Cowboys through 2025. And as a practical matter, the Cowboys are committed to him for the next 2 years. After 2020, it becomes a year-to-year proposition. And maybe they keep him, maybe they don't. Maybe they try to negotiate the contract, maybe they don't. But the bottom line is this. Jalen Smith took the money because it was the smart thing for him to do. For the Cowboys, it was the smart thing for them to lock that deal up at a below market value rate now so they can turn their attention back to the guys who want market value. The question is, are they going to use what Jalen Smith did as leverage to get these other guys to stop demanding market value? The stare down will continue with Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, and Dak Prescott. And we'll see if all three of them or any of them end up signing a new contract before the regular season begins. That's it for this edition of PFT OT. We'll see you back here tomorrow with an all-new PFT Live. Simms will be back, and we will be getting you ready for week 3 of the preseason because it begins Thursday night. Great time of the year because football is back. Not real football. Real football is back in only 15 days, and we can't wait for that. Thanks for your continued support, and we'll see you here on Thursday.